Hello, I'm Norbert Gleicher and Dr. I'm the Medical Director and Chief Scientist here at the Center for Human Reproduction, here once again with my colleague and friend David Barad, who is our Director of the Clinical IVF Program and also Director of Research here at the CHR. And our topic today is what's out there on TikTok and anywhere else in the social media that you may be concerned about. Because a lot of what is being said or written is really either confusing or sometimes outright incorrect. And a few other things, just asking for clarification. So let's start with some of the legislature in different states which have become much more relevant after the national abortion laws have been basically rejected and the whole issue of abortion has been sent back to the states. And we obviously have different laws in different states. We have more conservative states, we have more liberal states. We are lucky enough to live in an extremely liberal state in that regard, so nobody has any concerns about these issues living in New York. But if you, for example, live in Louisiana, where the discarding of embryos is legally prohibited, it is an issue. And if you live in Alabama, where legislature passed kind of a pretty restrictive and somewhat crazy law in our opinion, only to pass another law to indemnify IVF clinics afterwards so that they could very quickly reopen after they closed in total shock. Those are different circumstances. Texas and other states have obvious restrictions, but IVF is possible in every state of the union. Indeed, the current Trump administration has come out, the president himself has come out very publicly in strong support of IVF, not only in support of IVF, but in strong support of IVF and in a promise to try to make it more affordable to broader groups or more people in society, because it is still a treatment that unfortunately is very restricted in who can afford it. So let's talk about some of the mostly rumors on that that are out there. And one thing we hear in recent days repeatedly is, can I be forced to get pregnant because I have embryos?
So the thought is, the question is, when is personhood? And in ancient times, when they thought that sperm were little homunculi, it was frowned upon to waste your sperm.
Yeah.
The so-called sin of onanism.
Yes.
Today we know that that's only half the chromosomal complement, so you're not wasting little people.
Yes.
But that kind of thought has been extended now to embryos, and there are some people who think personhood begins at the fusion of an egg and sperm.
Yeah. And that doesn't make sense, because we obviously know, biologically speaking, that if you take a young couple that very fertile, they produce an embryo every month, and only 1 out of 3 to 4 will ever implant. In other words, 3 to 4, even naturally, will never implant and basically are wasted.
And we know that from IVF, when we transfer if we do single embryo transfers on early embryos, the majority of those will not implant to become babies.
Yeah, and so if something doesn't implant, there is not a chance of pregnancy. So it's kind of a little odd to make the claim that that's where personhood started.
So we still have to respect cultures that have that belief, and if it's a religious belief, we certainly respect people's option of having those opinions.
Absolutely.
But, and on a scientific and medical basis, it's not something that we can really subscribe to.
What it comes down to is that every patient should have the right to dispose of their embryos, either by using them, keeping them frozen, not using them, and, for example, making the decision to donate them to another couple or to donate them to research, and if they so decide to dispose of them. We call that ethical disposal. It is done in embryology laboratories by very strict criteria of thawing out usually frozen embryos at that stage.
In a respectful way.
In a very respectful way. And we have, just if we're already talking about respectful, we have had some patients, and I'm sure many IVF clinics have had this experience, who wanted us to give them the embryos and give them a burial. And if that's what they want to do, that is fine. But I think it is important to point out that nowhere in the US, just because you have embryos, you are forced to transfer those embryos and be exposed to the chance of an unwanted pregnancy. Such a law does not exist. Now, there are some religions that do not allow you to discard embryos.